Greetings everyone, welcome back to the channel. Remember to like, share, comment and subscribe. Alright, so for this video I'll be talking about the broad topics for Caribbean history. Alright, so for Caribbean history we have topics such as that we teach as themes and as cores. Alright, so the exam is set up in 3 sections. Section A that has theme 1 to 3, section B that has themes 4 to 6, and then section C has themes 7 to 9. Alright, so themes 1 to 3, 1, the indigenous peoples and the Europeans. Section Theme 2, Caribbean economy and slavery. Theme 3 is resistance and revolt. Alright, so for the broad topics for Caribbean history, CXC was very specific. So unlike social studies, which they were really broad and no specifics were given, specifics were given for the Caribbean history, but there is a twist to some of it which I will explain further. For the indigenous groups, you are to study the Kalinago, Maya and Taino. Remember now, that's if you did that as a theme, because most teachers just teach one from each section as a theme and do everything else as a core for the purpose of the multiple choice, because almost everything is asked on the multiple choice. So we cover the areas of the core for the multiple choice. For the themes, you really just need to do one in depth. Some teachers do 2. For my students, I teach all the core and I teach 2 themes from each section of the exam, just to give my students the best chance possible. So for section A, I taught the indigenous peoples and Europeans, as well as Caribbean economy and slavery as a theme, and I did resistance and revolt as a core. Right, for section B now, I did metropolitan movement towards emancipation and adjustments to emancipation 1838 to 1876 as themes, and then Caribbean economy as a core. For section C, I'm almost out of time. I just started United States in the Caribbean, right? So I'm still at theme 7. So yeah. So for the broad topics now, for theme 1, you are asked to look at the Kalinagos, Maya and Taino. I feel for this question I could be wrong, but I'm just guessing. I'm making an educated guess. I believe that one of the questions is going to be a comparison between 2 of the groups, right? Remember, for each theme you will be given 2 questions. So for section A, you're going to have 2 questions on the indigenous groups and Europeans, 2 questions on Caribbean economy and slavery, and then 2 questions on resistance and revolt. So that's a total of 6 questions, and you will only be selecting 1. Only 1 out of the 6. The same for section B. 2 for metropolitan movement, 2 for adjustments, right? And then 2 for Caribbean economy. Good, and it's the same 2 for US in the Caribbean and 2 for Caribbean society. Same 2 questions. Alright, so if you did indigenous peoples and Europeans, Kalinago, Maya, Taino, just feel like they're going to do a comparison. For Caribbean economy and slavery, you're going to look specifically at the effects of the slave trade and slavery on West Africa and the Caribbean. Also, systems of labor in the Caribbean and the triangular trade. Good. For theme 3, resistance and revolt, you're just going to look at 2 revolutions, the Asian Revolution or Damarara Revolt. For me personally, students tend to have a very difficult time understanding the indigenous groups, because a lot of it is comparison, I should say. So many students struggle with that. For me personally, the easiest theme right there is Caribbean economy and slavery. I don't teach resistance and revolt as a theme because students find it very difficult understanding the revolts, right? Many persons are familiar with the Asian Revolution, but when you look at Damarara and the others, students have a difficult time with those, right? So Caribbean economy and slavery seems to be the easiest, but based on the topics that they gave for resistance and revolt, it's going to be a little bit easier now, because you're looking at the Asian Revolution and Damarara, right? So you get two specific revolts to focus on. Maybe I'm saying it is easy because I love the Asian Revolution, so I have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the Asian Revolution. So maybe I'm thinking that is why it is easy for me, right? But based on the topics that they give you to study, resistance and revolt is going to be just as easy as Caribbean economy and slavery. I prepared my students for the indigenous peoples and Europeans, and also Caribbean economy and slavery. So I told them yesterday in class, stay away from the indigenous peoples. Stick to Caribbean economy and slavery, because remember, they are going to ask you 2 questions on the one theme, and all you're studying effects of the slave trade on West Africa and the Caribbean. Easy. If you guys have a book called Lest You Forget, a little purple book on Caribbean economy and slavery, it outlines the effects of the slave trade on West Africa and the Caribbean beautifully done there. Systems of labor in the Caribbean, you can probably pick up most history books and you will see the systems of labor being outlined. And the triangular trade, there is a wealth of information that is readily available in books and on the internet on the triangular trade. It is widely discussed and studied. So Caribbean economy and slavery is going to be very easy. Alright, so for section B, we look into section B now for themes 4 to 6. Theme 4, Metropolitan Movement Towards Emancipation. You're looking at 2 things for the exam: the Emancipation Act and apprenticeship. Good, right there, apprenticeship, easy, because they can only ask you so much about apprenticeship. Remember, I know they probably can ask you to describe the tenets of apprenticeship, the problems that were associated with apprenticeship, and how the Crown actually tried to address some of these problems. 1 out of those 3, they can ask you about apprenticeship. So remember, these 2 questions, you're getting to choose one, you know. So apprenticeship, easy. Some students now might have a problem with the Emancipation Act, because some students, they don't grasp this information easily. I don't know why, but metropolitan movement seems to be looking pretty easy this year. Then now we have adjustments to emancipation. Chinese immigration, establishment of the peasantry. For me, Chinese immigration is very easy. Very easy. The problematic one now might be the establishment of the peasantry, but if you read widely, you should be able to handle this question as a theme for paper 2. You should be able to handle Caribbean peasantry, man. It's not gonna be too difficult. So for theme 6 now, Caribbean economy 1875 to 1985, the decline of the sugar industry, the bauxite and petroleum industries in the Caribbean. So 2 again. My advice is stick with theme 5, adjustments to emancipation, because that's the easiest one so far. Right, out of 4 to 6, theme 4, Metropolitan Movement Towards Emancipation, Emancipation Act and apprenticeship. That's the easiest one so far. Theme 7 now, 7 to 9, which is section C. Remember again, 6 questions, 2 on each theme for you to choose just 1 from the 6. Good. Theme 7, the United States in the Caribbean, 1776 to 1985. CXC was being very slick right here. Alright, so for the United States in the Caribbean, you're looking at 2 focus areas: the United States in Puerto Rico and the Grenada invasion. The Grenada invasion is very wide. It's a whole bag of things you have to look on. But you know what the funny thing is, I was looking at some past papers from 2005 to 2016. From 2005 to 2016, I found half of a question on Puerto Rico and 1 question on Grenada. All the other questions were on Cuba, Panama, and the effects of US and I think US culture on British colony, something like that. I barely could find any question on Puerto Rico or Grenada. So I believe that 6 just look here. but we have which question or which topic we never focus on over all these years and pick those two. The information is there, you know, in the books, and you can find it on credible sources on the internet. However, there isn't a lot of past paper questions on Grenada or the US in Puerto Rico for you guys to practice with. So if you're going to do the US in the Caribbean, read, or look at the objectives. The Csec history syllabus is available online. You can just type into Google CXC history syllabus, right? And go search, look on the syllabus, look at the objectives, use the objectives to form questions. That's what I did with my students. I use the objectives to create questions and give them activities. You understand? So that they can practice using the information to answer questions. That's what I did, because they are doing the yes in the Caribbean, because that's the team that I am on now, and me not finish yet. And if by the time I finish, say by next week, any other team is going to be rushed. So I'm giving it my all for the US in the Caribbean on these two focus areas, and just glance over probably Caribbean political development or Caribbean society. Maybe I'll do Caribbean society because that seems a little bit easier. Alright, so for theme 8, Caribbean political development up to 1985, the two focus areas are the West Indies Federation and the status of the Netherlands Antilles. Theme 9, Caribbean society 1900 to 1985, Marcus Garvey and the UNIA, and culture and recreational practices of the Caribbean people. Right? I heard a teacher saying that not a lot of questions are available on Marcus Garvey and the UNIA for Caribbean history. I don't know, because I wasn't looking for those questions. I was just looking for the US in the Caribbean, right? To see, because I was on that theme, so I was trying to pull those questions from the past papers to focus on them while I'm teaching. Half of one for Puerto Rico, one for Grenada. So what I'm going to do is go back through the past papers, all the themes that my students will be focusing on for the exam. I'm going to pull those questions, put the students in pairs, and give each pair 1 or 2 questions to do, and then make a presentation for the class, so all the students will benefit. So we are going to work as many past paper questions as possible, so that all the students can be adequately prepared and everybody have a good chance of scoring a grade 1. Alright, so that's it for the Caribbean history broad topics. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe.